Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to this session. My name is Alexandra, and I will be your moderator tech for the session. I'm here to provide virtual support for both you and the presenter during the presentation. Should you have any questions or need assistance with the Zoom interface, you can use the chat icon on the toolbar at the bottom of your screen, search for moderator, and send a direct private message to me. I will do my best to provide assistance to resolve your concern. And now to announce this afternoon session titled Discover the Future of Jobs and the K-12 Digital Connection, presented to you by Jennifer Brown. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you, Alex. Oh my gosh, Phil's here. Hi, Phil. Oh, I love to have a friendly face in the crowd. Good to see you. Good to see you. Thank you all so much for being here. I am so excited to be going through this content with you. It's something I am incredibly passionate about. To make sure that you're not confused, yes, I retitled the title slide of my deck. The alternate name for this session is Preparing Our Students for the Future of Work. I couldn't decide which to go with, so I've been switching back and forth, but it's still the same good stuff, and we are gonna dig in deep here, folks. So just so you have an idea of who I am, so I'm not just a random floating head in your screen. My name is Jennifer Brown. I am a Google for Education program manager. So I support about 150 school districts in the state of California, across the whole state. And I just really try to give them the up-to-date news and information on what's new with Google, and try to act as a support for those districts. I am, again, so happy to be here with you all. If there's any teachers in the crowd, woo, shout out to you guys. I'm a former teacher myself, so very happy to have you all here today. Kristen, thanks for letting me know. I'll check that at the end, and if not, I'll just throw the full link into the chat for you guys to make sure that you can access it. So when we talk about future of jobs and work and think about it through the lens of education, I'll be honest with you guys, there is one thing that comes to the top of my mind, and here's what it is. It's a question that I used to ask my first grade students when I was in the classroom. We had this social studies unit all about work, right? We were learning about jobs in our communities. And the question that I would always ask the students, that I bet you have asked at one point in your life to a young person, it is, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to be when you grow up? How many people have asked that to somebody at some point in your life? Am I right? This is a very common question. And I would argue this question used to make sense back when jobs didn't change that much. Back when I would be getting answers like firefighter, I'd get the kid, I want to be a teacher like you, Mrs. Brown. Oh, make your heart kind of sing. Or I'd get chef, doctor, actress. In the final times of my career, it was YouTuber, it's probably TikToker now or something. And I would say that was a question that really used to make sense when our job market was more stable, when it was more predictable. But now, here we are, it's 2022, y'all. We are in the midst right now, we are living this, of a job market disruption. We are in the midst of a job market disruption. We are finding that traditional jobs are being replaced by automation. And there are entirely new industries that are being created. And so with that in mind, I want to challenge you to consider asking this question to your students instead. Instead of what do you want to be when you grow up, what problem do you want to solve? And hey, it doesn't have to be a social problem. This could be any problem. Think about Shark Tank, man. Everyone walks into the tank. They've come in with a problem that they have worked to solve. And when you think, what problem do you want to solve? Consider your passions. What really ignites your fire? And once you think about what problem do you want to solve, push that child to think, well, how will you solve it? Using your gifts, your talents, what makes you, you. How are you going to solve it? There's a million ways to solve a problem, but your passion, that's what matters in how you're going to do it. Take, for example, climate change. A lot of us think that there's only one way to solve a problem. You might think that for climate change, hey, throw into the chat, what type of job do you think is a job that tackles climate change? What do you guys think? What would be a job that comes to your mind? Someone that is able to tackle climate change. I'll kick it off in the chat. I'd love to hear what you guys think. Scientist. Ooh, that's what I was going to put, Heidi. Scientist. Yeah, firefighters. That's right. Certainly in California. Politicians. Ooh, gardener. I love that. What about a photographer? What about a photographer? Can a photographer tackle climate change? Absolutely. Absolutely. It might not be a traditional path that you thought that might be able to help with climate change, but imagine somebody who's able to really capture the essence of what is happening in the world, what the real impacts are. There are a million ways to solve a problem. And once you think about how you're going to solve it, then I want you to think, what skills are you going to need to solve that problem? What knowledge are you going to need? What abilities are you going to need to solve that problem? This is where we come in, right? Us as educators, we are truly preparing our students to succeed in solving the problems that they want to solve. And we've got to give them the opportunities to practice and hone relevant skills. Relevant is going to be huge because we're going to talk about what is relevant in 2022 and beyond. What are those skills that they need? Some people, when they think about preparing students for the future, there's this line that I hear, we're preparing students for jobs that don't yet exist. And I always say, yeah, that's true. But you know what's really cool, guys? We can predict and we can use current market research to identify trends to get our kids on the right path. Yes, we might be preparing them for jobs that don't exist, but we know what the skills that they're going to need are. And I'm going to take you today into something called the Future of Jobs Report. Now, I'm going to throw a question out there to the crowd before I dig in. We're in the middle of an industrial revolution. This is a fact. Does anyone know what number industrial revolution we're in? Are we in the 6th, the 5th, the 2nd? Throw it into the chat. I'm curious if you guys have heard about this. What number are we at if we're counting them up? The 11th, the 3rd, number 3. Ooh, I love this. 4, 2. All right. Oh, you guys are good. My friends, we are currently in the era, if you put numero 4, number 4, folks, we are in the middle of the 4th industrial revolution. Here's the deal. Being in the industry that I'm in, I have heard this buzz kind of word, right? This buzzword of 4th industrial revolution. People love to bandy that one and throw that around. But let me tell you, it is a real thing. And so I'm going to give you like a 20-second history lesson. Here we go. Buckle up. We're going to take you through the industrial revolutions. The first one, this was in the 18th century, okay? Powered by water and steam. You had steam and water power replacing human and animal power with machines. And then came the 19th century, the advent of electricity, internal combustion engines, airplanes, cars, phones, radios, mass production. Remember Henry Ford? Think about that assembly production line. That was the second industrial revolution. Then came the 70s. The third industrial revolution kicked off the birth of automation, electronics, the internet, information technology. All were used to further this automation of mass production. And here we are today, guys, 2022, and we are in the midst of the 4th industrial revolution, the era of cyber physical. There are new technologies that are fusing the physical, the digital, and biological worlds at a rapid pace. So what do I mean by that? Think mobile supercomputing, high-speed mobile internet, intelligent robots, self-driving cars. There's neurotechnological brain enhancements, genetic editing, 3D printing, immersive technology, artificial intelligence, big data analytics, cloud technology. Whoa, there's a lot happening. So when we ask our students, what problem do you want to solve? How will you solve it? Think about the era that they're living in. Because the way that we might think to solve a problem, there might be a way that you and I have not even conceived of yet. So how can we help our students in this incredible era that we're a part of? I want you to remember the tools that are at their disposal. We are in an era that is deeply rooted in technology, and it goes far beyond Google Docs. We are also in an era where skills that are unique to humans, skills that are not easily replicated by an automated workflow or robotics, that is what our students are going to need. And I can say this with a degree of confidence to you because I'm not the one that came up with it. If you take a look at the World Economic Forum, who, if you're not familiar with, they're a not-for-profit international foundation. Their members are comprised of a blend of public and private sector. You've got your world's 1,000 leading companies. This is a global org, international organizations, academic institutions. The World Economic Forum is engaged in political, business, cultural, and other leaders of society. They're committed to improving the state of the world, right? Well, they release, this organization, a report every couple years called the Future of Jobs Report. This last one came out in this pivotal moment in 2020. And what it does is it gives you trends that are expected in jobs and skills of the future. And they are looking very closely at this window of time between the years 2020 and 2025. And what they do is they analyze about 20 different global economies, 12 industry sectors. They examine not just the technology industry, folks. They look at oil and gas, consumer, infrastructure, aviation, global health, professional services, mining, and metals. This is not just people that are in a tech bubble. They are talking global industries here. They look at what employers are seeking from new hires. What are the types of jobs that are available and who are they looking to put in those jobs? We're going to take a look at that report today so we can really understand what is that future of work, and then we're going to tie it back to what is the digital connection to K-12? How can we help? So let's start off with looking at that jobs report. I put up for you right now, and I hope if you didn't get the short link, I'll provide it at the end because I know the screenshot is kind of small, but kind of lean in, take a look at this. Right here, what you're seeing are the top 20 job roles that are increasing in demand and decreasing in demand globally. So similar to the 2018 survey that came out, these little blue arrows now are going to point to leading roles that are growing in demand. We saw these back in 2018. They're still on here. Look at the types of jobs, the top 20 that have increased in demand. Robotics engineers, software and application developers, digital transformation specialists. When you look at these jobs, what type of skill comes to your mind that somebody would need in order to excel or succeed in that job? Throw an idea into the chat. What types of skills are they going to need? I see technological, higher level thinking, math, science, management and organization. Yes, collaborative, cooperative learning, analytical, coding. I'm going to highlight some jobs while you guys are thinking through that. The ones with the blue arrows, these are newly emerging. They have never been in a future of jobs report until 2020. Digital information security analysts, Internet of Things specialists, process automation specialists. And I'm looking at what you guys are saying. Absolutely. World languages, communication, creativity, problem solving, critical thinking. Absolutely. Now pause there. Take a look at the opposite end of the scale. Take a look at the roles that are decreasing in demand, jobs that have been displaced by new technology and automation. I'm talking about jobs like data entry clerks, administrative and executive secretaries, assembly and factory workers, accounting, bookkeeping, payroll clerks. When you look at that, what do these jobs have in common that you think are causing them to decrease in demand? What does a data entry clerk, an assembly and factory worker, what do they have in common? I see repetitive Repetitive tasks. Ooh, Sarah makes an interesting point. The new jobs sound kind of impersonal. So these top increasing 20 jobs don't sound like maybe people skill kind of jobs. Automation, absolutely, absolutely. What's so funny when I see repetitive tasks that can be automated, y'all, I think back to when I was in the classroom. I say this just knowing that I could have done better, right? If I had taught for maybe a decade more, I think there's so much more I could have done. I could have done better. You know why? Because when I think back to the classroom, repetitive tasks, that is what I had my students doing on a daily basis. Take a look at yourself and ask, is that something that maybe is in my classroom too? There is no shame to it, folks. There is no shame to it, because let's be honest, the world of education, it takes a long time for things to change. Think about what activities we have them doing. Multiplication tables with flashcards, right? Repetitive, rote patterns, something that they could easily just look up. So we have to think. We have to think, how are we going to be adjusting or evolving what things look like in our classroom? So we're preparing our students for success, for what the actual job market looks like. We talk about being college and career ready. What does career ready really mean in 2022? Baby, this is it. This is what we're looking at. This is what career ready means. Let's take a look at these jobs of tomorrow. Because when we're talking about jobs going away, when I showed you jobs that are going away, that is counterbalanced by job creation in new fields. We call those the jobs of tomorrow. Over the coming decade, a small share of these newly created jobs are going to be in brand new occupations, or it'll be an existing job that's undergone significant transformation in the skills that'll be required. So look at this resulting set of emerging professions. They break this down into 8 different categories. You've got cloud computing, content production, data and AI. I saw someone called that out earlier. Engineering, marketing. But then take a look at some of these. I think back to the comment about how some of these jobs seem a little bit impersonal. When I take a look at some of these, take a look at the ones that are about people and culture or sales. Sales is as old as time, folks. People have been trying to sell stuff to other people for a long time. But you know what? The world of how we sell has changed and is changing as technology becomes further and further fused into it. When you look at these jobs of tomorrow, what stands out to them, to you? What is standing out to these about these jobs of tomorrow? I'm going to take a look. Some people put their thoughts in here. Maybe we're moving away from human interaction. Some people are seeing that now, kids texting each other. What do you notice when you look at these? Is there any commonalities? Anything that you're seeing? Gauging the impact on global society. Oh, that's interesting. Very interesting. I'll throw one thing. I look at this and boy, I see computer science there written in red and underlined about 10 times. Python development, JavaScript development, cloud engineer, cloud consultant. Yep, computer science all the way. Well, hey, don't just take it from me. Let's let the World Economic Forum show you. Since its 2016 edition, they have been tracking cross-functional skills that are increasing in demand. So we have data from this is showing data from 2016 to 2020. And we've been looking at those, and what you're looking at here, figure 27, we are looking at what skills are emerging and which are decreasing as far as employers really seeing them as something very necessary to the job. So look at what we've got here. Critical thinking and analysis. Problem solving. Are you guys part of the World Economic Forum? Because I could have swore I saw that in the chat at the very beginning. You guys already knew this. Teachers are so tapped into it and they don't even know because you see it firsthand every day. That is increasing dramatically. And problem solving, these have stayed at the top of the agenda with year-on-year consistency. Now, newly emerging this year, I love these. And someone threw it out in the chat and they said it in a bit of a different way. Look at number 9, this third dark blue arrow over here. Resilience, stress tolerance, and flexibility. Resilience, stress tolerance, and flexibility. These are newly emerging top skills for 2025. Active learning and learning strategies, and self-management. So yes, I see critical thinking on there. Yes, I see technology use is huge. Technology design, technology monitoring, but the people skills. Those of you who called out in the chat, hey, we need more connection. Our kids are becoming disconnected. You are not seeing that in isolation. People agree with you and are very specifically calling out this ability to manage yourself. I see right here, working with people. That is all included. In fact, if you look at the top 10 skills of 2025, we can begin to see patterns. And we can begin to group some of these based on fundamental tenets of those skills. Take a look at this list. Take a look at what they say are the top 10 skills globally that people are looking for. Do you have any wonderings or questions when you look at this? Yeah, Kristen, I love that. Show it the first week of school to validate. Absolutely. Absolutely. One thing I wondered on here when I was looking personally, I thought, boy, I thought for sure that they would have called out computer science, like just by name. Maybe that's just me. They did include technology use, monitoring, control, technology design, and programming. So programming, coding, computer science. I was hoping they would call it out by name so that way people could see how important it is. But essentially, y'all, what you see repeated over and over is a call for higher order thinking skills, emotional intelligence, self-management, technology proficiency. In fact, the World Economic Forum takes those skill buckets and groups them into the 4 that you see in the bottom left key. We are going to be focused on these for the rest of this presentation. In fact, I'm going to take that little box in the corner there, and I'm going to make it its own slide. We're going to blow those up real big here. I'm calling these the 4 core life and career skill buckets. I know that for the teachers, for the education leaders in this room, these categories are probably not a surprise to you. But here is what I start to wonder when I look at this, and I remember being in the classroom. With all of the priorities we face in our districts, in our school buildings, in our classrooms, how do we ensure that there is a targeted effort to provide students with opportunities to practice each of these on a weekly, if not a daily basis? How are we making those moments for them to practice self-management, to practice working with other people, to practice computer science? How are we doing that? I would love to hear, does anybody have any example of maybe how you try to do this in your own classroom or in your own district? Maybe you're a coach. For any of these, feel free to either throw it in the chat or come off of mute. I would just love to hear, how are you integrating these skills into your classroom?
Hey, I'm off of mute. This is Kristen Morales. Would you like me to speak?
I would love to hear from you, Kristen. How are you doing this? And tell us where you're coming from, my friend.
Hey, I'm coming from Southern California, Temecula Unified School District. I'm a high school math teacher and tech coach. As a math teacher, this idea of mimicking, just teaching kids the algorithm or teaching them the way, it goes beyond math, but teaching them the way to do it is not helping them. You really need to build perseverance and resilience in a problem-solving situation. I have great friends in elementary school that do passion projects where students figure out hey, this is what I want to do. This is my passion project. And they solve a problem. But the opportunities for solving problems combined with working with people, combined with technology use, I think is so powerful in any classrooms. And I really try to incorporate that into my high school math classes. Students don't like it at first because they're used to being taught something, mimicking it, and then providing the mimic solution. But jobs of today, the solutions haven't been figured out yet. So we need to set students up for problem-solving experiences where they can work through challenges with collaboratively with people in their group, and possibly use technology to help them solve it.
Oh, Kristen, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah.
Hearing you talk about the struggle that students have, they think they have school figured out, right? Because they're not coming to learn, they're coming to do school. And when you do school, there's a way to do school. They know the trick, they know the algorithm. I gotta just do, like you said, mimic. I love that word. I just gotta mimic what the teacher did, and I just gotta get the grade. They're not thinking about the authentic learning. And when you disrupt that, it makes them uncomfortable. But wow, I can't just, once they actually get into it and they get it and it clicks, that is probably the most magical thing for you. Wow, I love that. I love that. Anybody else want to share maybe how you're trying to incorporate any of these skills into your classroom? Hey, no worries. The chat is always open, guys. Well, there's one thing I really, really want to call out. Of course, I'm here with Google, so technology is a big passion of mine, much as it is for you guys. You're here at Google Camp, right? Technology use and development. I really want to focus on that, specifically when it talks about technology design and programming. Because here's the thing, as teachers, if you use an LMS, if you use Google Classroom, Canvas, Schoology, whatever you're using, if you have a class wiki, a Google site that you use, you are designing technology that's going to be used by students. And hopefully you're giving students the chance to develop things on their own, like their own Google site, their own way of expressing their learning. And when we do that, we want to be sure that we are being inclusive. So I'm going to just step away from the World Economic Forum for a second, and I'm actually going to turn my attention to something from the organization CAST that's called Universal Design for Learning. Throw a smiley face into the chat if you know what Universal Design for Learning is. Just give me like a little smiley, or if you throw a thumbs up emoji in there. So, okay, yeah, all right, my people, you guys know what I'm coming. Hey, if you don't know what it is, no worries, because I'm going to give you, this is not going to do full justice to Universal Design for Learning by any means, because that could be its own training series for a year, right? This is Jennifer's, just think of it, the Spark Notes version. When you think about technology development, it means a lot of things. But one thing in particular that I want to point out, it has to do with user experience. It's also called UX design. If you're teaching in a one-to-one environment, which majority of North America is now, thank you to the pandemic, you are creating digital environments for your students to engage and learn within. And this goes beyond understanding core concepts of technology into a broader area of understanding that human beings are something called neurodiverse, and we interact with and learn information in diverse ways. So to ensure that the digital environments that we're building out are accessible to all, we can use something like this framework that's been built out to support the inclusion conversation. This comes from a nonprofit education research and development organization known as CAST, and this is called the Universal Design for Learning Framework. It has a companion resource, which is the Universal Design for Learning Guidelines. That's what I have up on your screen now. This is a set right here of concrete suggestions that can be applied to any discipline to ensure that all learners can access your information and access learning opportunities, and that way they can share their own learning back to you in a way that makes sense to them. So it's probably showing up small on your screen right now. If you Google Universal Design for Learning, it'll come up right away. But here's what we're going to do. The next part of this presentation is really honing in on how can we integrate technology into our classroom in a way that covers, one, these top skills: problem solving, self-management, working with people, and technology use and development. How can we in our classroom integrate these skills in using technology? And how can we do it in a way that's accessible? So again, that was not me teaching you everything about UDL, which is the nickname. Please, please look at this for yourself. Even encourage your curriculum department. If this is not something that your district has taken on, I find so much value in this, and a huge passion of mine is making sure learning is accessible to all. So please check it out. But as we kind of think about, all right, Jen, I'm kind of fired up about this. Like, these are the skills my students need to know. Maybe you've been saying this for years and you're like, yeah, this is giving me evidence as to the why. You might be wondering, well, how can I bring the technology into my classroom in a way that's going to hit those skills in a way that's meaningful and authentic? I want to take you into something called digital creator tools, okay? When we think about digital tools, and I'm coming fresh from ISTE, I don't know if anyone else was in NOLA. If you were, hope you didn't get COVID. I did, was not fun. But I just think about when I left ISTE and my brain was just like overwhelmed. It was like, there is so much out there. We have a little bit of what I call a digital tool overload. When we think about bringing technology into our classroom, it's like, okay, I want to be a good teacher. And a lot of us, maybe not everyone, maybe I'm just speaking for Jen Brown, but for me, I think, oh my gosh, if I know about this tool, if I have access to this tool, I better be using the tool. And if there are 15 tools, I need to use all 15 to be a good teacher. When you're a teacher, you want to go for the 64 box of Crayola crayons, right? You want to get all the colors because more is better for our kids. That is what a lot of us think. And I say that again, maybe I'm talking for me, but I know from my friends that I used to teach with, this is something we talked about all the time. And after much trial and error, much experimentation in the classroom, I realized I didn't need the 64 box of crayons. In fact, I would be doing my students far more of a service if I gave them the 4 box. And I'm talking about this very specifically right now with creator tools. When I say a creator tool, I'm talking about a tool where students are able to express their learning, where they are literally creating. So I'm not talking about like an LMS, right? That's a platform for hosting content. I'm not saying get rid of your LMS because you're going to use these other tools. I'm talking specifically about tools that students are going to use to create. And when you think about that, here are some things to look for. I'm going to give you here almost like a little mini rubric for evaluating all those amazing creator tools that maybe you heard about at ISTE or on Twitter or something like that. Here is what I look for. 1, the blank canvas effect. Does the tool provide students literally the opportunity to create something from nothing? Templates are great. In fact, I would use templates often when I would have my students create, but then eventually we worked it up to the fact that they could create from nothing. Now, we are in 2022, and if your technology isn't supporting collaboration, it might be time to revisit, should we use that technology? And I mean a shared project space. I mean a file that multiple people can be editing at the same time, right? Like good old Google Docs, it's old, reliable. You know that everyone's gonna be able to work in it at the same time. Shared project space is huge for collaboration. And I saw quite a few people put collaboration in the chat earlier when we were thinking about those skills. And finally, universal design for learning. When you think about UDL, I touched on it briefly. Does that tool provide multiple means for students to express themselves? Multiple ways that they can represent their learning and information? And then finally, when you look on the right, I would say, do those tools support problem solving, self-management, working with others, and technology use? So I'm going to give you, and I'm going to cheat, by the way, because Crayola Crayons doesn't make a 5 box. I wish I had 4, but I have 5 of my top digital creator tools. And I will say that if I was back in the classroom, I would limit myself to using those top 5. Again, it doesn't mean get rid of Imagine Learning, because that's not a creator tool, right? It's not saying get rid of Houghton Mifflin or Pearson Math or something like that. Those are totally separate digital tools. I'm talking about creator tools. So these are the top 5 that I would recommend. The very first one, you guys are going to laugh because I feel like I've really built this up, right? You think I'm going to show you something brand new. Guys, the old reliable that I'm telling you is just slept on so often and so underutilized is my friend, the presentation builder. My friend, the presentation builder. You might be sitting here like, Jennifer, look, hon, we've known about Google Slides for a while. You're back in 2008. No, stay with me here, guys. I am telling you right now, Presentation Builder is huge. It goes beyond the slide deck presentation. It is the ultimate collaborative blank canvas. Yes, it can be Microsoft PowerPoint. I don't care. I just want students to have really, really good understanding of how to navigate a presentation builder. It's far more than a text box. It's far more than just pasting pictures in, because you know what? Think about, again, universal design for learning. I have yet to have a presentation builder let me down when it comes to providing multiple ways to express your learning, because they can embed audio, text, images, video. For UDL, there is closed captioning. I could turn on this closed captioning right now, which I probably could. Let's do this. I'm turning it on right now. This is accessibility. I should have had this on the entire time, and I apologize that I didn't. But this right here is making it more accessible. This right here is a way that a student could create something, turn on closed captioning, and screen record themselves giving this, and it'll record the captions. The speaker notes, they can do speech to text with the speaker notes. Think about how something that's so simple, it's so simple, we overlook it so often. I'm telling you, one of the reasons I got this job at Google is because I really, really knew how to do Google Slides well. In fact, my friend here, Phil Harding, he turned me on to edu protocols and thick slides and thin slides, and that blew my mind when I was thinking about all the possibilities out there. So I'm not the only one thinking this. There are much smarter people than me out there who are writing books about this stuff. I highly recommend that you check it out. People, I say edu protocols or edu protocols, don't know which is the proper one. Sorry if I don't say it right, but please check it out. It is a game changer. Now, the second one that I would highly recommend is the website builder. This is key because it provides, yes, a blank canvas, but it's also the bridge to an authentic audience opportunity. And you can set it up so students can safely build a website within a walled garden, only accessible by their peers. And you are providing them now an authentic audience. No longer are they just performing for you, the teacher. They are now opening their learning and showing what they have learned to their peers. And that right there is powerful, so powerful. There's also Blogger that exists. That's something that you could take a look at. But for me, this is huge because you can embed video on it, which for so many students is a way that they express themselves. I mean, I wasn't kidding when I said TikToker earlier. Kids are really, you want to get them excited and passionate, have them create video. And speaking of creating video, that'll be my third one right here. A video editor. This is the key to unlocking the potential of multimedia. Now, I put on there WeVideo and Screencastify. My manager would probably laugh at me right now and say, you should put the new Google one in there that you just announced in June. We did just announce there is now a native screencast app for Chromebooks. to clarify, not for the Chrome browser, for an actual Chromebook. It lives in the Chrome operating system. It's called Screencast. It came out in version M103. So if your Chromebook's up to date, search for it and see. It is really cool because not only is it going to screen record and give you that ability to create video, but for your students, it's going to create a transcript. And that transcript is live, so the student can click into the transcript and the video will scrub right to that moment, right to that minute. So something new, cool, wanted you guys to know about that, but a video editor is going to be my next one. All right. Digital inking, the power of the pen, baby. There is so much to be said for handwriting, annotations, sketchnoting. I remember I had a student, Michelle, who was she was deep into note-taking with pictures. And I would never tell her that she couldn't do that, because that is how she remembered things. She excelled when she was able to express herself the way that best fit her. And I always remember that because she had the coolest looking notebooks out of everyone. And yes, I still at that time did handwritten notes. Don't yell at me, y'all. But there is power in that, because for some kids, that is what they need. Yes, there's Jamboard, but I'll be honest, my personal favorite, which is available if you guys use iPads or Chromebooks, I'm sure it would also work on a PC. Explain Everything. Explain Everything is oh my gosh, it could have also fit under Presentation Builder because it's got the blank canvas. But oh, you want to talk about a way that students can really express their learning with multiple modes. Explain Everything will do it. Highly recommend you check it out. Now, I told you I was going to have 5 crayons, not 4, right? Computer science, y'all. Computer science. There is a letter that was just released. You know what? I'm going to find it right now. I'm going to grab this. I saw it. It landed in my inbox. Let me grab this. Take a look at this letter. It was signed by the CEO of Alphabet, which is the parent organization of Google. Sundar has signed it, and it calls basically it's CEOs for computer science. And they essentially signed this petition saying that computer science must be integrated into the curriculum for all students. It's an equity issue. It is an equity issue when we think of giving all students opportunities to access computer science, to learn how to code. I highly recommend, if this is something that you are passionate about and you're not sure where to start, that you feel like, yes, I need to give my students, I need to empower them to be able to speak that language. You can start in grades 4 through 8 with something like Google CS First. It is an out-of-the-box, easy to use curriculum. You don't need to know how to code a thing, guys. I am no coder. I will tell you that right now, which is hilarious. I work at Google. I am not a coder, but I can lead a lesson on CS First. It uses the Scratch platform, takes about an hour to complete. And for kids, I linked here for you guys. Let me grab it right now. I really liked this. It talks about UDL within computer science. It is so cool. It's utilizing UDL framework in computer science education. Take a look at it. It comes from the Creative Technology Research Lab. I think there is a new site. This might be from the University of Florida. This may be a little dated. Ooh, there is a new site. Look at that. I'm going to have to update my Prezo after this. Here, let me put the new one for you guys. Here it is. Awesome. There you go. There you go. Hold on to that. Take a look at it so that way you can really see how are we being equitable and using universal design for learning with computer science. Now, I don't want you to walk away today feeling like you're pumped up, but you don't know where to start. So I want to quickly cover for you some digital skills curriculum that's available. I talked already about CS First, so I won't linger here too long. Instead, I'm going to turn your attention to applied digital skills. Applied Digital Skills is not a digital creator tool. Students are not, it's not a platform where they are building the thing in it. It's a curriculum actually for middle school to high school students. You can use it for college and beyond. I know adult learners that use this to teach themselves how to skill up with using some of the tools. Essentially, what Applied Digital Skills is, it's a free online digital curriculum, and you create a project from scratch to learn how to use the tool. Think something very basic, like creating a resume in Google Docs, maybe leveling it up a little bit, designing an infographic in Google Drawings, or planning and budgeting for a community service project in Google Sheets. It's focused on the future of work, practical skills. Now, if you have kids on the computer, we want to make sure that they're being safe, right? And so if this is something, so most of you guys I bet have heard of this, but just in case I have anyone in the crowd that's newer and has not heard of Be Internet Awesome, let me share this with you. Anyone here use Be Internet Awesome? Give me an exclamation point in the chat if you use Be Internet Awesome or have used it, or heck, even if you just know about it. I'm just curious. I always like to know how many people, ooh, here they're coming in. Ashley, Charlotte, and Kristen. Love that. Boom, boom, boom. Oh yeah, Heidi's giving me a smiley. I love that. Okay, awesome. In case you don't know what it is, this curriculum has the ISTE seal of alignment, and it teaches kids digital citizenship topics, mostly meant for grades 2 through 6. The topics are things like share with care, right? Be careful about what you're sharing online. Don't fall for fake. Secure your secrets, password management, and that type of thing. It's cool to be kind. So talking about how to be, remember we were talking about those people skills connection? How do you act online? Who's teaching them how to act? That's on us, right? So we're teaching them it's cool to be kind. When in doubt, talk it out. And what's super fun is there's a video gaming element to this called Innerland. It's an online adventure. There's 4 challenging games. It is super, super cool. Now, if you were in my earlier session today, apologies because you're seeing a little bit of a repeat of some of these slides, but I want to make sure that you as teachers felt that you have everything you need to be able to navigate through these tools yourself, right? Because you are also doing technology development in your own classroom. So one way that I like to help people get off the ground, there are a few things. One is the Teach From Anywhere Hub. If you are someone that is a newer teacher, or maybe you're a coach and you work with newer teachers, maybe some of them who are new to the classroom who didn't teach during the pandemic, but maybe now they're going to be teaching in a virtual academy. Well, how do you get someone like that ramped up who didn't live through it? You can take them to the Teach From Anywhere Hub, and it's going to give them guidance on how to teach remotely with a video call, how to manage a virtual classroom, how to make your lessons accessible and keep them engaged. The other cool thing is for families. A lot of tech-toses I know are having to build their own resources to give to parents. We have a lot of that already built out. So if you are about to invent a resource about Chromebooks or about Google Workspace, slam on the brakes, check out the site and see if you can take anything from here. We've got Guardian guides on Chromebooks and Workspace. Got a tech toolkit for families and guardians that kind of breaks down what tech gets used in the classroom. There's a video series, a glossary, and even family conversation guides on like creating healthy digital habits and things like that. Now, let's say you're also in charge of how are we going to be asking our teachers, let's get the kids on Google Sites if they don't even know how to use Google Sites. So there are a couple things we can do for them. There's the Getting Started with Google for Education email series. It runs for about 8 weeks, delivers to your inbox on Tuesdays. It comes with text and video tutorials and takes less than 10 minutes to complete, which is just very cool. And they have training tutorials on every edition of Google Workspace. Now, my number one thing, I'm even going to throw the link in the chat right now. Let me pull this up. Okay, here we go. Teacher Center. Boom. Let me throw this in the chat. If you haven't been here in a while, y'all, check this one out. The Teacher Center, we have a team of very bright, very passionate folks, our global education impact team, who their entire focus is keeping this site up to date, relevant, fresh, with product guides, talking to you about accessibility tools. If you're looking at universal design for learning and you're wondering, how can I make my students' experience more equitable, more accessible, take a look at the accessibility tools section. We also have things on digital citizenship. We have certifications and programs, lesson ideas like about culturally responsive classrooms. All of this is free training that is available to you. So make sure you check that out. Now, I did want to leave about 10 minutes for questions. So I think we're right on time. Not even just questions, but discussion as well. This is the reference list for where I pulled my research from. Highly recommend that you dig deeper into any of these. But here is that link again. And this is a deck that I'm using for a couple events. So you're going to be like, wait, what? We're not at a summit right now, Jennifer. We're at Google Camp. Well, I'm reusing the deck for both events. So that's the link, the short link to it. There's the QR code. But I would love to hear from folks like, what is your takeaway? Do you agree or disagree maybe with the top 5 tools that I picked? Would you have one that you're like, oh, Jennifer, you totally should have included this one, or maybe you wouldn't have included one of the ones I did? I would just love to hear feedback from you guys and yeah, connect with you that way.
Hi, this is Heidi Gross. Oh, my background's there. My face isn't there because I don't have my camera, but that's okay.
No worries. Hi, Heidi.
I'm from Chino Valley. I'm an instructional coach, and we were just having this conversation during lunchtime, actually, of there's so many. We're a dual platform district, so our teachers have just started using Google products in the last maybe 6 years. And so, having to decide for myself too, having to decide which is better, should I use PowerPoint? Should I use Google Slides? Should I use Sheets, or should I use, Excel? And so I like the way you kind of gave us 5 categories that we can do. And if we choose to use different sites for that, we can, but it kind of helped me to narrow down some of those tools. So thank you.
Oh, that's so good to hear. You are so welcome, Heidi. I'm really, really glad to hear that that the organization of that information made sense to you, and that it fits kind of with the way your district operates. That's what I want. Yes, I'm here with Google, but if it's not Google Slides, that's fine. I just want the kids to have the opportunity to work with those tools, right? So awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm going to peek in the chat. Ashley threw out that some people mentioned Kami, which is a great digital annotation tool that you can annotate over things like PDFs. I love that. I should definitely include that in the digital inking section. Fantastic suggestion. Yes, Sheila likes the top 5. That's so great. Amazing, amazing. Anyone else have any thoughts that you want to share? Anything that's kind of just like bouncing around your brain after hearing this? I know it's a lot of information.
Hey, Jennifer, hey, it's me, Kristen again. I have a quick question for you.
Yeah.
As I said earlier, I'm a math teacher. One thing, first of all, students know how to use Google Slides. We've been in Google District for a while, so it's like it's native to them. And a lot of times what I'll do is I'll take tools from other things, like, for example, Desmos. I have students, it's a blank screen in Desmos to create equations and to create graphs, and I'll take and have them use that and import that as like a screenshot or an image into their Google Slides, but then link it. So one way they can use Google Slides is use that as their creator, but then build stuff elsewhere, but still bring it back into the Google Slides. So that's one tip that I use quite a bit. The other thing I want to say is, and maybe I'm wrong here, I create a lot in Google Docs because there's an equation editor. There's no equation editor that I can find in Google Slides without having to get an add-on.
You're right. At this point, it still would require an add-on. Google Docs, I think, I'm going to just quickly jump back to. Did I include? I did. I have Google Docs here with an asterisk in the presentation builder because I believe it might be for Education Plus users, but you can convert your Google Doc into a pageless Google Doc, which turns it into a blank canvas. So no longer will you have the gray bar with the page if you choose. I believe it will default to the paged version, but you can make it pageless, and then you can create like really long tables, and the canvas will adjust to it. So you can do some really cool things in Google Docs. Absolutely. Thank you for calling that out. And I loved what Kristen said about kind of putting in the screenshot too. That's awesome. Anybody else have anything that you'd want to share? And it's okay if you have other ideas too. If you're like, I don't know, I'd maybe switch out one of those, or even anything from the beginning of the presentation when we were talking about the future of jobs. This is just great feedback. I'd love to hear more.
Hey, I want to say one more thing that in math.
Oh, I hear you talk. There it comes in. Sorry, the audio was delayed, but I hear you now.
Another thing with math is the pen tool, like those digital inking. Shoot, man, if you have any powers with, at Google, can we get that same pen tool that you see in Jamboard in Google Slides? Because like that would make slides like complete for me. The scribble tool doesn't quite work the same way as the pen tool. So as a high school math teacher, equation editor in Slides and the pen tool in Jamboard, man, if I had both those things, Google Slides would be complete for me.
That's really good to hear. I'm going to submit this as a feature request. You're not the first person to tell me this, which is a good thing because the more people that bring it up, the more likely it is to get on the roadmap. So I'm going to put that in there, and the pen tool from Jamboard. And anyone who wants to +1 that feature request, I just need to know what district you're from because they make me submit that as part of it. So if you guys want to just throw it in the chat, if anyone else wants to +1 that kind of equation editor and pen tool. Okay. Awesome. Okay, awesome. +1 Menifee. Okay. And Hemet.
Chino Valley and Temecula.
Oh, Chino Valley, very good. Very good. Yes, Tina. Oh my gosh, I could not agree more. The level 1 and level 2 certifications are so helpful. Level 1, especially for more of those beginners, that's the fundamentals training, and level 2 being more of that advanced training. It's all in the Teacher Center. Oh, Phil, I can't wait. If you have more books, my friend, ooh, I know I've got some good reading coming. You just let me know. I finished Disruptive Technologies a few months ago from when we met, and I probably have read it about 2 more times since. So that was a great recommendation. Awesome. Well, hey guys, we're in the final 2 minutes. I'm happy to give you guys a couple minutes back if you need to go take a bio break or whatever you need to do before your next session. But thank you all so much for coming, and I'll stay on for the next couple minutes if anybody has anything else that you'd like to add. Oh, thank you guys so much. Yes, Charlotte, let me get the link for you. That is the short link, just copy and paste that. Dr. Grace, I just put that in the chat right above your message. So if you copy and paste that into a browser, you will have access to the presentation. And anybody who maybe was hoping to get, Charlotte, I see you want the statistics. I would pull directly from the World Economic Forum's website. Let me see, give me 1 second. I'm going to pull up for you. Infographics. This is what you want. If you are looking for the infographics, I would recommend, Charlotte, pull it from this link. All the ones that I used are there, and you'll actually be able to get them in full size, which would probably be helpful if you're looking to maybe share this out. Great. All right, folks, we are at time. Thank you so much, and look forward to seeing you all again in the future.